In today's episode, I will be talking about the lies when it comes to frame failure / frame flex, and I'm going to talk about the lies from both sides. Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, the podcast. I am the host, the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as other things. Now, this episode may upset some people. Not meant to. It's meant to educate folks that are, they're starting to try to discover and do homework about purchasing a fifth wheel. Whether it's a used one, whether it's a new one, no matter what the brand is, no matter what the manufacturer is, this hopefully will help you make an educated decision. And for those of you that already own a fifth wheel, help you either educate yourself on what to look for, or number two, help you ease your mind a little bit that some of the stuff is exaggerated, okay? And again, for those of you that are gonna get upset over this, I apologize. I'm not here to upset you. Again, educational purposes, okay? Now, you're probably wondering, holy crap, he's not in his car? He's not in an RV? Where is he? Well, I'm at Emerald Cove here on the Colorado River. I'm here all Labor Day weekend. I'm gonna be filming several podcast episodes here, several videos here for the main channel. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to see if I can interview some people here, see how they're enjoying their rigs. I'm going to have a lot of fun, but it's going to be 100 plus degrees outside. But let's get to it first. First of all, remember, let's look at this. There's two sides to this, right? There's nothing's wrong, or the wrong is very minuscule. And then there's the other side, which is everything's a piece of crap. Every fifth wheel built has a bad frame. All right. Both of those are complete exaggerations. You would call them lies. They're accusations. Okay. Now let's start with the sunshine and rainbows part of this discussion. Okay. First off, when they give a percentage, they are not taking in consideration the accusations. So there was a very famous YouTuber, especially in the RV industry, that claimed that less than 0.5% of fifth wheels experience frame failure / frame flex or extreme frame flex. Now, give a little background. When they're talking about frame flex, they're talking about extreme flex. Every fifth wheel, travel trailer, motorhome, every RV flexes naturally. If it did not flex naturally, then you would have major problems. What we're talking about is it is flexing beyond the specifications of what it's meant to do. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, let me know in the comments section, okay? Frame failure is another term that is being used to combine what is going on with frame flex with cracks and breaks in the frame itself. Maybe in the pin box, maybe the separation of the sidewalls from the frame, the floor from the frame. Very generic term that incorporates a lot of stuff, okay? Now, I'm to blame a little bit for the word frame failure because I started using that more and more to try to separate what flex is. So this is a little bit my fault. At least I blame myself a little bit, because the reality is when I started talking about the word frame failure, it was in conjunction to separate that there is flex within these. And instead of keep using the word extreme flex failure or for frame flex, I just decided, frame failure, frame flex / frame failure. Okay. Now, the sunshine and rainbows want you to believe that less than 0.5% of fifth wheels experience this problem. That is only a partial truth, okay? First off, oh, and by the way, Lippert got involved and Lippert said the same thing. Jason Lippert, who's the CEO of Lippert, also said something similar to that in an earnings call. And you can look that up yourself. So the reality is this is only a partial truth. This is not 100% fact. Okay, first off, if it was less than half of 1%, explain why Grand Design RV has so many accusations against it. Where the partial truth comes in is the majority of other brands, some I have sold, some I've never sold. Like, for example, I've never sold Jayco, but the percentage may be within that range with other manufacturers like Forest River, like Keystone. Maybe not Keystone Montana High Country, but the majority of the other Keystone products like Cougar, regular Montana, etc. It could be true about Coachman, Chaparral, and Brookstone. It could be true about a lot of the mainstream big corporation fifth wheels. Now, I don't have the data to support that, but that's the reality. If again, a partial truth is that, let me spin around, see, it's the Colorado River, it's very pretty. Now, on the other side of the argument is the Armageddon YouTubers and the Armageddon people that are screaming to high heaven, pissed off at me, pissed off at the world, pissed off at the manufacturers. Everything's a pile of crap. They're on the internet screaming to high heaven that the RV industry needs to change and everything built is a high piece of crap. And they're all pieces of garbage. Well, that's not true either. Now, do I believe that there needs to be some changes involved in RV manufacturing? Absolutely. Do I believe that that's going to happen anytime soon as far as federal regulation? No. Are there people pushing for federal regulation? Yes. Do I believe that their fight is justified? Absolutely. You know, anytime that you want to fight for improvements is absolutely wonderful. Now, for those of you, or for those that are screaming to high heaven that everything built is a piece of crap, you're simply over exaggerating because either one, you've seen a lot of YouTube videos, and let me step back for 1 second. Let's go back 1 second. Let's look at it from this perspective. How many YouTubers out there are pumping out videos that tell you how much they love their rig, that are not paid to do it? Good question, right? So think about it. You have a lot of brand ambassadors out there. That's the other lie. Brand ambassadors want to tell you how everything is wonderful and everything's perfect, right? That nothing's wrong. They're paid to do that. That's their job. But how many of us normal folks, including myself, come online and tell you how they're enjoying their rig? They talk about the small little problems that they've had over the years and, you know, toolkit and sense of humor. But they come online and they tell you everything positive about the industry. Everything positive about the lifestyle. How often does that happen without them getting paid? Without some kind of agenda of maybe becoming monetized on YouTube, or, you know, maybe to supplement their income so that way they can full-time RV or maybe remote work or maybe start a business. See, those are the things you got to keep in mind, right? And then you got to think, how many of those people discovered that positive information doesn't make any money? Look how many thumbnails and titles are clickbaitish. I'll give you an example. There's a big YouTuber out there, and I won't name names because everybody gets mad at me when I name names, but she has a thumbnail on a video that says, "All RVs are garbage." Very clickbait title. Very clickbaitish, right? Okay. Now, let's talk about another lie. How about the lie, which is actually an exaggeration more than anything, that Grand Design RV is only been having this problem, this frame failure and frame flex problem, for about a year. That is something that is being pushed out there, and I could tell you right away from the stories, the accusations, the stuff that I've received from consumers, people who own Grand Design products, that Grand Design RV has had this frame failure problem for several years now and is still continuing to have it. In fact, over the last 3 weeks, I've gotten emails from folks saying that their 2024 momentum, their 2024 solitude, their 2024 reflection is starting to show signs of extreme frame flex or frame failure. Wow, that sun's bright. We're gonna go back the other way. Holy crap. So, if that's the case, that means this is still an ongoing thing with Grand Design RV. Now, just because, this is the other thing, if Grand Design RV is having all these problems, they're the best in the business. That means Brinkley, that means Forest River, that means Mobile Suites, that means Riverstone, that means Redwood, that means all these other fifth wheels must have been having these problems for years too, and it's worse. Here's the thing. Grand Design RV put themselves on a pedestal. Nobody else did it. They are the guys who now started Brinkley, that started Grand Design RV, are master marketers, masterful marketers, okay? I put out a video, which I'm gonna talk about here in this video. I put a video out that I ended up removing that exposed something that has been backed off of now. And within 4 hours of me releasing that episode, they were up and ready to discredit me. Up and ready to discredit me. So just imagine if you're that on top of things as a master marketer, that means you could put yourself on a pedestal as something different, as something better. Now, what I'm gonna say positive about Grand Design RV, because I've been in some used ones now. I'm gonna say 3 things. Number 1, they're no different than anybody else. They're no different than Forest River. They're no different than Keystone as far as the components or the construction quality. When it comes to all the other stuff besides all the frame failure / frame flex stuff, they're no better than anyone else. But there are some things they do that I now understand why people assume or have the perception of them being so great. And the first thing is lighting. I know that sounds so simple, but if I were to sit in a meeting with Keystone, Forest River, Outdoors RV, anybody like that, what I would say to them is, you guys are so cheap on lighting. That's how Grand Design gets you. You go into a Solitude. I went into a 2019 Solitude the other day. It has double the lighting of a Riverstone. So when you turn on these beautiful LED lights, it opens up the space. It gives such great context and texture to the cabinets, countertops, the living space. It's bright. It's very, very like inviting, and it cuts down. Like, I can go into floor plan to floor plan and inside the Grand Design, just because of the lighting, I feel like the space is bigger. It's insanity. Absolute insanity. The second thing I've noticed about Grand Design RV is they don't skimp on how many cabinets they put in certain coaches. okay? In certain floor plans, they don't skimp on the amount of cabinets. Now, that doesn't sound like a big thing, but that's pretty big when you walk into, let's say, a 36-foot fifth wheel, and Grand Design has 3 more cabinet storage areas than a Jayco North Point at the same length, same layout. And the third thing, and the last thing I noticed about Grand Design RV and what people's perceptions become is they use techniques in their sales pitch to make you believe that they are full-time RV capable, and they make the salesman believe that you could take it anywhere and it won't break. Even though that verbiage never really comes out of the salesperson's mouth, I actually listened to a training session that a friend of mine recorded. And I'm like, holy crap, because I'm always wondering, where the heck did RV salesmen get the thought that a Solitude can go off-roading and you can go anywhere and anywhere at any point in your life and it'll never break? Where did they get that from? Because I've noticed that's a pitch that's been going on for the last couple of years. And then I listened to the training of one of the sales guys at Grand Design that was recorded. And I'm like, that's where they got it. The salesman from Grand Design never actually physically said it, but it was implied. And so again, marketing masters. So they put themselves on the pedestal. And then brand ambassadors, things of that nature. If Alliance RV, if my boys, the Bradys, actually were that kind of master marketer, they would have been put on the pedestal rather than Grand Design, rather than Brinkley. So to me, it's 2 versions. And this is the next lie about frame failure, frame flex. So I had to set that up with context. The marketing on both sides of the argument. So on the Armageddon level side, the thumbnails, the clickbait we already talked about, but also the editing of the videos, the editing of the actual interviews with customers that are having major issues like this. And this actually just doesn't apply to frame failure and frame flex. This applies to everything in an RV. So let's imagine it's a politician, or it's a company on the Fortune 500, or a company on the stock market, or anything of that nature. It doesn't have to be the RV industry, but just let's imagine this. You're doing a 3-hour interview. You could take a 3-hour interview and edit it to manipulate the narrative of that interview either way. You can manipulate it where everything is sunshine and rainbows, and you can manipulate it where everything is absolutely Armageddon. So editing of these videos by these Armageddon YouTubers is giving you the wrong impression of what is really going on. This is why I like guys like Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, Joe Rogan. They release the full 2, 3, 4-hour podcast episode, the 3-4-hour interview. They release it all. So you can actually get the real truth behind it. Now, they'll clip things for marketing purposes to get you to watch or listen to the 3 or 4-hour podcast. But in all reality, they don't clip and edit the crap out of the actual episode. While I could do the same thing. I could take this video, which I never do. All my episodes are not edited, because I like to just talk. Just imagine you could edit any video you want to fit your narrative. Oh, by the way, that goes for the Sunshine and Rainbows YouTubers too. You can manipulate anything you want in video. Video is the #1 content and information service. We depend on YouTube, Rumble, TikTok for information. And it's funny because there's a lot of fake news and false information on the internet as much as there is of fake news in the mainstream media. There's a lot of people that just don't understand it. That's all. I mean, again, there's people who are going to hate me for this episode. Okay, so again, and I'll mention one more time, editing is the third lie. And the fourth and last lie of frame failure / frame flex is that every single frame can or cannot be fixed. Okay, so on the sunshine and rainbow side of things, they say, oh yeah, it'll get fixed, no problem. And we're gonna get into a bonus lie here in a little bit, okay? But what the reality is they tell you, oh yeah, just take it into a dealership and the dealership will take care of you. Well, let's look at some of the Grand Design dealerships that I have spoken to and Grand Design service centers I have talked to. Some of the SRT team members that have finally allowed me to talk to them as long as it was off the record. This frame failure / frame flex problem is not being solved properly according to these folks. And in a lot of cases, the dealerships do not want the responsibility or the liability to fix a frame. They are, from the dealership's perspective, if they fix it wrong, the factory, and in this case, Grand Design RV is the example, the factory is going to point the finger at the dealer like, well, you fixed it, so you're liable. So they don't want the liability, especially if there's a problem with the frame. They want it to go back to either Lippert, they want it to go back to the factory itself, or they want it to go to some of these guys that are masters at fixing frames. Dustin Simpson in California, a master at fixing frames. Okay, there's Alliant in Indiana, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Masters at fixing frames. Expensive. And that's the thing. Dealerships and manufacturers have been at odds. And this is part of the lie, is dealerships and manufacturers have been at odds with each other for a couple of years now because of inventory problems. And they're still at odds over inventory problems. That being said, throw this into the mix if you're a Grand Design dealer with all these accusations by customers. It starts to be a he said, she said moment. So is the couple of guys that are big YouTubers, that are corporate RV dealership YouTubers, where those dealerships are dependent on Grand Design fifth wheel sales, are they giving you 100% of the truth? Absolutely not. What I do want to say is I feel bad for them because I bet you there's something rumbling in their stomach saying something's wrong. They know something's wrong, but there's so much money at stake that they simply got to follow the corporate line, got to follow the corporate narrative. So I kind of feel bad for them. But on the other side of things, which is the Armageddon level things, which, have clickbait titles and clickbait thumbnails that say all RVs are garbage. And it's not just one person. This is a lot of YouTubers. They don't have brand deals. They don't have money coming in except for YouTube ad revenue. Now, a couple of them, from what I understand, have good paying jobs, and this is like a secondary thing for them, okay? But the reality is a lot of Armageddon level YouTubers are looking for clout and YouTube ad revenue. That's the lie you're not told. So what's the best way? What's the best way to get you to click on their video and watch it? Well, the best way is bad news, and make bad news so nuclear that you start to say things that are borderline untrue. You start making accusations against manufacturers and manufacturer executives that was either taken out of context or just flat out lies, so that way you could get on another person's channel and continue to grow your brand. Yes, that happens. So in the case of frame failure / frame flex, what they're doing is they're simply telling you that there's no fix for it, that they're going to do nothing about it, that your life is in danger no matter what. Which, this is an exaggeration. This isn't a lie. This is an exaggeration. And what I mean by exaggeration is it dangerous if you don't have your fifth wheel checked for frame failure / frame flex? Yes. It could be dangerous to you. It could be dangerous to the people around you. It could be dangerous to other people that are driving on the road next to you, behind you, or in front of you. So, yes, it is a possibility. Ooh, a boat driving by. It is a possibility that you are putting people in danger by not having your fifth wheel inspected and make sure that everything's copacetic. Why? Because if the frame does snap, you can imagine the chaos. Is that with every single fifth wheel built? Is that with the majority of fifth wheels built? No. But these Armageddon level YouTubers want to make it out to be that way. It's like they're out to destroy the industry. We're going to come out and we're going to destroy the RV world. We're going to destroy the RV industry. Well, that's not their goal. Their goal is to make money. And again, bad news sells. Sex sells. These are things that the mainstream media has learned to do quite well. We'll sprinkle in a positive thing every once in a while, but everything's terrible. Everything's horrible. The world is collapsing. Bitcoin is crashing. The stock market is going to crash tomorrow. The real estate market's going to crash tomorrow. All this stuff, and people soak it up. I don't blame you. You know, especially if your money's at stake, you're damn right you want to pay attention, right? Okay. Bonus lie. This is the big one, the bonus lie. Okay. Let me get into the shade here. The bonus lie is that every RV ever manufactured, let me phrase that. Go back. That older RVs were built better than newer RVs. This is not a fact. They were not built on heavier frames necessarily. Some had heavier frames. That's because they were heavier coaches, okay? But for the most part, God, I've sold 1960s, 1970s, 1990s trailers, 1980s RVs. They're really, the actual construction of the unit hasn't changed in several decades, okay? What has changed is the amount of technology put into these, okay? What also has changed is instead of using real cabinets like they did in the 70s and the 60s, they're using this lighter weight, like cardboard type material with real wood facing though. Part of that in their mind is cutting down weight, and the other mind is there's more electrical inside these coaches than there ever has been. Yeah, we just talked about Grand Design RV. Grand Design RV has a lot more lighting than everyone else. Now you have solar panels, 12-volt refrigerators, residential refrigerators. You now have inverter systems. You now have bigger batteries. You now have more efficient air conditioners, you have soft starts on air conditioners, you now have auto level systems with hydraulics and electric, not just hydraulics now they have electric ones. Oh God, I can go on and on and on. The technology has improved, or I should say there's more technology in these things now. Now, the more technology you put in a trailer, and this is the other lie, or the other side's lie, is the more technology you have in them, the more things can go wrong. And that is true, okay? With all the electrical systems and everything else they put in these, all the technology, especially in big diesel pushers and big motorhomes and big huge toy haulers and luxury fifth wheels and etc., you start to realize a lot can go wrong. Now, I always say toolkit and sense of humor. I actually am generating a book. I'm almost done with it. And part of the book I decided to add on and give everybody a monthly checklist of what I would do if I owned another RV. Because I don't own one right now. Well, I own one, but the kids and the wife are living in it full time, Keystone Cougar. But if I owned an RV that I was only using for camping or being a snowbird or being a get the hell out of the desert guy, I'm going to come up with a checklist of what I would do at least once or twice a month to make sure that none of my trips are ever interrupted, that my coach doesn't sit in a service center for 3 months and I miss out on the entire summer. Because trust me, I've heard horror stories about that. Absolute horror stories, okay? So I'm gonna come up with that checklist at the end of that book. Sorry if I'm squinting, the sun's just nasty out here now. Whew. So hopefully this was helpful to you. You know, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. You guys know I always say that. But not everything is Armageddon. Should the Armageddon level stuff be a lot less than it is? Sure. Everything can be improved. But I just wish that the lies on both sides would stop happening. Because it's not going to. I'm going to have to continue to be the balance and continue to basically be the commentator, I guess. But hope you enjoyed the view, enjoyed the walk with me. Until next time, toolkit and sense of humor, folks. Right?